And we were speaking about earlier in the Maimer the reason why on Rosh Hashanah davening we say Zeh hayom tchilas Maasecha Zikaron Liyom Rishon, that the word Zeh is actually what explains why is Rosh Hashanah the day of the Tchilas Maasecha, because Zeh was what came revealed through Adam Rishon. On the 25th of El, on Chafei El, which is the day of the creation of the world, that's the level of Koi, a level that's called Aspaklaria She'enam Me'ira, the level of Dnusenu. That says that the spheres said one to each other. We brought from the Zohar that we should make Adam B'tzalmenu Kid Musenu. Kid Musenu is like our image. That's Koi. That level of godliness, the level of Elikus that's mislabish in the world, the level of Elikus that's more concealed, that came about on the first day of creation, Chaf Hei. What we are marking on the Rosh Hashanah is Zeh. Zeh hayom tchilas Maasecha, the Gilui of Zeh. The Gilui of Zeh happened only with the birth of Adam Rishon, only with the creation of Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon had not just a level of Kidmuseinu, but Nasa Adam Bitzalmeinu Kidmuseinu, that he had the level of the Zeh, the Gilui, in a revealed way, higher than Seder Shtalshlus, Atzilus, Aspaklaria HaMe'ira, and therefore, since he was the level of Zeh, and the whole creation was from the level of speech, whereas the level of Adam Rishon, Neshamas Yisrael, are from the level of Machshava, of thought. And every single Rosh Hashanah, we need to renew the Binyan HaMalchus, the level of speech. So we need to go back to the source that's higher than speech, because we're bringing down every single year a new chayis. Therefore, we have to go back to before where the speech came about from, to a level that's higher than the Asarim Amaris, to the level of Adam, the level of Zeh, the level of thought. And even though Adam Rishon was also created through Amira, Vayomer Elokim Nasa Adam, but that's of a different type of Amira, that's only to take that level of Zeh, that level of Olu B'machshava, that level of Neshamas Yisrael coming from the highest level of Hashem's thought, and bring it down into this world. It had to be transmitted through Vayomer, as we brought it to Kunei Zohar, the 10 spheres of Atzilus, said to the 10 spheres of Bria, Nasa Adam B'tzalmeinu Kid Museinu. But even in that process of Vayomer, what was being communicated in the Vayomer, in the Maimer of creating Adam Rishon, was not like any of the other Asarim Amaris. In the end, all the other Asarim Amaris, it was only the level of Hashem's speech. Here, it's the level of Hashem's higher than speech, the level of thought, the level of the Shoresh of Neshamas Yisrael, and that's why it says B'tzalmeinu Kid Museinu. And this applies, and this is also not just that Adam Rishon affected the level of the revelation of Zeh, and that's why he said, Boyu nishtachva v'nichra. He brought about that the whole creation should come to a level that they bow down to Hashem of their own will. This is also something that every Yid has, because every Yid is part of the Neshama of Adam Rishon, and every Yid is called Bnei Yisrael, a connection with Yisrael, Yaakov Avinu, who was also Yaakov Avinu, just like Adam Rishon was a Neshama Klalis for all. So every single Yid brings about the revelation of Zeh, brings about the Boyu Nishtachva V'Nichra. So now we're going to bring it back to the line that we use in the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. Again, the 8th page of the Maimer, 2nd paragraph, line 13, Ois Vav. That's what we say in the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. That this day is the day of your actions. We say this in the middle of the psukim of Zechronis in the Musaf davening. Although there are many reasons that Rosh Hashanah should have been established on the 25th of Elul, which we mentioned before, earlier in the Maimer. First question is, it was actually created on the 25th of El. Another reason why it should be Rosh Hashanah should have been established on the 25th of El, because it's the whole idea of Rosh Hashanah is renewing Hashem's speech, and the 25th of El was the first time Hashem manifested the world through the speech. Still, and all, despite all those other reasons, why one would think that Rosh Hashanah should be on the 25th of El, Mikol Makom, still and all, Nikba Rosh Hashanah b'Yom Brias Adam Rishon Davke. Rosh Hashanah was established on the day of the creation of Adam Rishon, specifically Lefi Shachidush Rosh Hashanah u'inyan Amshachas b'chinas zel b'chinas koi. The uniqueness of Rosh Hashanah is not just the level of speech, not just the concealed world, but Rosh Hashanah is about bringing the Zeh, the beyond the world, the revelation of godliness, down into the koi that the world has on its own. And that's why it's also on the 6th day of creation, because that's the anniversary of when the first time Zeh was brought down into koi. And this drawing down and making the Zeh come down and join with the koi, that is specifically through Adam. And that's why the Rosh Hashanah is marked on the day of Adam Rishon's creation. So now the Rebbe says a very interesting thing. Don't dismiss the 25th of Elul entirely. It has some value as well. B'chlal, in general, when the Rebbe says a maimer on a certain topic and a certain date, so then the Rebbe will usually find, Sichos also, but I think more Mamorim, that date as well is of import, value, significance. So even though this whole maimer is about why Rosh Hashanah is called Zayim Tchil's Masecha and not the 25th of El, but Lepoil, the Rebbe was saying this maimer on Shabbos Parshas Nitzam Vayelech, the 25th of El. So the Rebbe is explaining over here the advantage of the 25th of El. In a similar vein, in the later years, the Rebbe would speak and fabring about what the advantage of the 25th of El is, though this was not something that the Rebbe necessarily spoke about that much in the earlier years. But anyway, so in this Maimer, the Rebbe goes on and says, line 20, third paragraph on the page, we could add to this, in the Hemshech of the Rebbe Marash from the year Tafresh Lamed Beis 1872. So it's explained over there, Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah of that year, concerning the external Ashpah, interestingly, we usually speak about Rosh Hashanah as the new life force for the next year, etc., etc. So the Rebbe Marash says something else. There is two aspects of the life force: the inner and higher life force of Zeh, and there's the external life force, the practical, like just maintenance that the world should exist. That comes down every Chafel. The next year's Tafshin Pei Hayes Chayis, just the existence of the world, that is going to come down this Shabbos on Chafel. How come? What's the significance? The Rebbe explains the reason for this in the parentheses. We know that every single day has its own job and purpose to do. So therefore, since these days are remembered and they are accomplishing, in other words, whatever happened earlier in history on this day repeats itself again, just like we say about Purim, whatever happened on Purim X amount of years ago is happening now again on a Purim in this year. The same thing. V'lechein b'chol shana b'shana b'chafei be'el chayzer v'nir hachidish debrias ya'olam yeshmayin k'moi b'chafei be'elul b'pam harishoyna. Just since it's the 25th of El, you can't move the events of the 25th of El to Rosh Hashanah. it happened 5,785 years ago on Chaf Hei Be'elul. It's going to happen. What happened then on Chaf Hei Be'elul is going to happen again this 25th of El, just like the first time around. So therefore, the Marash says that the Chitzonius Achayis, the external life force, which is what occurred the first Chaf Hei Be'elul, happens every year on the 25th of El. That's not what occurs on Rosh Hashanah. That doesn't get moved to a different calendar date. So the Rebbe continues on the page 9 of the Maimer, we could possibly explain. Shagam chidush achayis shebechafi be'elul kosher im Rosh Hashanah. The Rebbe is adding now to the words, to what the Rebbe Marash says, and says like this. Even though the 25th of El is repeating and we're reliving what happened on the 25th of El the first time around, but even that is connected with Rosh Hashanah. You cannot divorce the 25th of El completely from Rosh Hashanah. How come? The new renewal of the world on the 25th of El of this year is thanks and in continuation to the renewal that took place on Rosh Hashanah on Tafshin Pei Dalet. This is already what came down in Seder Hishtalshlus, but it's revealed on the 25th of El. Right now, it becomes revealed. But it was already there in the Rosh Hashanah, all the way at the beginning of the year. So in addition to what takes place annually on the 25th of El, that the external life force of the world comes down, and that itself, the Rebbe says, is thanks to the previous Rosh Hashanah. So now the upcoming Rosh Hashanah, this upcoming Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Hey, comes down a new light, more than what came down on the 25th of Elul, and more than what came down on Tafshin Pei Daled Rosh Hashanah. Before we begin, let's explain the Geras Kodesh in the Pasuk. Always the eyes of Hashem Elokecha is in it. Literally, the Pasuk is talking about Eretz Yisrael, that he's focused on taking care of Eretz Yisrael from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. And the Alter Rebbe asked the question, why does it have to say from the beginning of the year till the end of the year? It could have said that always Hashem's eyes are in it. The always is always. What does it add from the beginning of the year till the end of the year? So the idea is that the Alter Rebbe explains the beginning of the year determines, it's also based on Maimon Chazal, what's going to be at the end of the year. How come? Because every beginning of the year, the cycle begins anew. And when the end of the year, Tafshin Pei Dalet, comes along, Erev Rosh Hashanah, Tafshin Pei Hey, all the life force and vitality and energy of Tafshin Pei Dalet leaves, and there's an entirely new chayis that comes down on Rosh Hashanah, specifically by Tkiyas Shofar and by the davening of Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Hey. Shebechol Shana v'Shana Yoyred Meir Oir Chadash v'Mechudash Loyhoyim Meir Adayin Me'olam. Every single year comes down a new and renewed light that would never shone. That's why it says it's only Mereichis Hashanah v'Achs Hashanah. It has an expiration date. The Oir that came down on Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Dalet has an expiration date. It's only till the end of the year that Ein Hashem Elokecha ba, because there's a totally new and higher revelation that comes down on Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Hey. Shezehu, this new light that comes down annually every Rosh Hashanah is, like we said before, Shezehu Ur Shalamayla Mishtalshlus. That's a light that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlus, the level of Bechina Zeh, and that's what comes down on the Rosh Hashanah, as opposed to what comes down every year on Chaf Hey Elul, according to what we just brought from the Rebbe Marash, it comes down the level of Koi every year on Chaf Hey Elul. But it was also, like the Rebbe added, included in the Chayis that came down in a general fashion on Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Dalet. By the way, I mentioned this before. Mereishis Hashanah Vadachras Hashanah. If you look at the words, Mereishis should have been written with an aleph, like the word Bereishis should have been Mereishis Hashanah should have been Mem Reish Aleph Shin Yud Saf. It says without an aleph because the letters Reishis without an aleph is an anagram for the word Tishrei, which we see another hint that from Tishrei comes down all, in our case, the beginning of Tishrei comes down the Chayis for the entire following year. Line 12. The idea of Rosh Hashanah. So again, the Rebbe is very much about living in the moment. This Maimer was said on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, Chaf Elul, so he's got to bring out not just how Chaf Elul is less than Rosh Hashanah, but also its own unique quality that Chaf Elul has. Similarly, the fact that it's said on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, it's important to emphasize this as well. So therefore, all of this that we just now spoke about Rosh Hashanah being the beginning of the year, and a new Chayis, and the Chayis that was never there, and the level of Zeh. So the Rebbe says, you know what? You don't have to wait for Rosh Hashanah for this. It begins already the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Sheboy Amar Rabbeinu Hazokin Maimer Niskir. The Alter Rebbe, when he said the Maimer upon which we base this whole Maimer on, said it on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. It wasn't a Rosh Hashanah Maimer, it was a Maimer he said on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. What is the significance of the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah Ki Yadu, as it's known, Sheboy Mevarach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'atzmei Sachodesh Tishrei, that in this Shabbos, Hashem himself benches the month of Tishrei. As we know, the famous Torah of the Baal Shem Tov that the Alter Rebbe heard from the Mizrich Maggid. Why do we not bench the new month on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, the Shabbos before Tishrei, like we bench the new month every month of the year? And there are niggler reasons for this. The niggler reason is because either to confuse the Satan, like we don't blow shofar on Erev Rosh Hashanah to confuse the Satan. We do multiple things to confuse the Satan. Another reason that's brought down the Mefarshim is because everybody knows when Rosh Chodesh is. The simple reason why they established to bench the new month is literally to announce that everybody should know when Rosh Chodesh is. But since the new month of Tishrei begins on Rosh Hashanah, everybody knows when Rosh Hashanah is, there's no need to be Mevorach Zachodesh. That's the niggler reasons. But the Baal Shem Tov said the Pnimius Advarim. The Pnimius reason is because we have this, the Eibishter himself benches the month of Tishrei. And by the power of Hashem benching the month of Tishrei, Yisrael Mevarchim Chadoshim Achzas Repam Bashana Yid now are empowered by Hashem's bracha to bench now the rest of the year. That benching is not just about an announcement, but benching is from the word bracha and amshacha and gilui. We're drawing down great divine energy for the month. How do we human beings have the koyach to do so? Because Hashem already drew this down and brought about this great powerful energy on the Rosh Hashanah, on the Shabbos Mevorchim before the New Year. So now we can go and bench the month of Cheshvan and Tavshin Pei Hey. So he's saying, and the bracha of the Eibishter is that you are standing today. This is all part of the Torah of the Alter Rebbe over there, the היום Koyal Rosh Hashanah, when it says Hayom Atem Nitzavim Hayom in the pasuk, it's going on Rosh Hashanah. Shuhu Yom Adin. It's a day of judgment. It says in the Iyuv, it says the word Vayhi Hayom, and Chazal explained that it's going on the great day of judgment. So this is the idea that we find that the word Hayom can go on the day of judgment. So the same thing, Atem Nitzavim Hayom, is going on the day of judgment. Despite the fact that it's a day of judgment, and a day of judgment might be something negative and causing us to be in a state of collapse and so on, Hashem benches us and says, Atem nitzavim, you are standing fast. Nitzav, the Rebbe always says, it has to do with the expression Nitzav Melech, like a king stands strong. It doesn't say Atem oimdim hayom, it says Nitzavim, which means Kayamim va'oimdim, you're standing fast and strong in a powerful way, in a strong way, like a king would stand. Which means, well, Hashem tells us, Atem nitzavim hayom, today, the day of Rosh Hashanah, you are standing fast, v'hainu shezoichem bedin, that the Yidden merit in the din, they win the court case on Rosh Hashanah, the judgment, the Yom Adin of Rosh Hashanah, we are going to win. That's why it says that the Rosh Hashanah is also a day of Simcha, even though it's Gilu B'Ra'ada, but Ezra told the Bnei Yisrael on Rosh Hashanah, go home and eat meat and fatty foods, because Hashem, the joy of Hashem is your strength, and so on, because we are assured that everything will be good and fine. There's a whole discussion in Chazal or in Achronim. Is Rosh Hashanah a time of fasting? Is that a time of feasting? And the Torah brings on a medrash that this nation, they know their God, and they dress in white, and they celebrate because they know that they will be already victorious in the court case. Not like other people when they go into the court and there's a doubt. Here they know, because already on Shabbos Parshas Nitzavim, Hashem benched a new month and benched a new year and said, Atem Nitzavim Hayom. Now, who is the Nitzavim Hayom? It says, this idea that we are Zoiche Bedin is not for certain people, unique people or whatever, but who b'chol eser adargish of Bnei Yisrael. These are all 10 levels that are enumerated. That's to be found in Bnei Yisrael, that he enumerates in the first few psukim of the parsha, that you are standing today. It's not just saying kulchem, all of you, but he actually goes through all the 10 levels. And these 10 levels of Yidden, the reason why there's 10 different levels in Yidden is Shem Keneged Esa Spheres. These correspond to the 10 spheres. And they are beginning with Rashechem, your heads, and then Shiftechem, your tribes, Ugoimer, and then till the lowest level, from your wood choppers to your water carriers, that they were even from the Givoinim, that are Geirei Aroyes, they perhaps didn't even convert sincerely, but they became part of Klal Yisrael. So all the levels of Klal Yisrael are all Kayamim, Va'oimdim, and Zoiche to the din should be in their favor. That's the bracha of the Eibishter in the Shabbos Mevarchim of the 7th month. Why is it called the 7th month? The word Shvi'i is related, the Chazal say, to satiation. It's the same letters like Saveya, satisfied. Shuhu HaMesuba, both the month of Tishrei is satisfied and satiated with many types of things going on. There's the Yom Tovim, and there's the harvest, and there's all types of good things happening in the month of Tishrei. And not only that, it's also part of the Torah of the Alter Rebbe. It's not only Chodesh Hashvi because it is satisfied, it is satiated, but it satiates, it satisfies, it brings much good for the rest of the year. That's why it's specifically Shabbos Mevarchim of the 7th month. Hashem benches the 7th month because it's about bringing satiation for the entire month and for the entire year. Here comes the Rebbe's brachas. From this, it's drawn down that should be a good and sweet year, Shnas Menucha, year of rest, Shnas Bracha, year of Bracha, V'yelchem Achayel Choyel, they'll go from strength to strength. V'ad Legula Mitzvahs V'ashleim Adei Mashiach came until a true and complete redemption through Mashiach. She'oz Yehakal Salma Noshim Anoshim Bataf. Then it will be gathered a nation, men, women, and children. V'ad Liyim Shekol Shabbos Menucha L'Chayelam, until it will be the day of Shabbos and rest forever and ever, which is the times of Mashiach.